Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to the Mother Divine in each of you. Our themes this month, we have 3. Dwelling in the presence, listening in the presence, and expressing in the presence. When I saw the list, I was immediately taken back to the many years of our annual meditation retreat. Each year, for as long as I can remember, Reverend Joanne has facilitated a retreat with a sole intention of giving participants a space to quietly and joyfully dwell in the presence, listen in the presence, and express in the presence. All of which Joel Goldsmith sums up as practicing the presence. These retreats were always the highlight of my year. It was a grand time to catch up on sleep, to eat excellent food and enjoy spectacular views and meditate to our heart's content without the bumps and grinds of everyday life interrupting. This is what Joanne gave us year after year. I remember one year in particular, by the second day of the retreat, I was in a nicely mellow space. I awoke at my usual time, which is about 4:30. I showered, meditated in my room for a while, and then I set out for a walk on the wooded paths and flowery areas all over the place. And I ended in the dining hall about an hour and a half before our PLC group was supposed to meet for breakfast. I placed my note bag on a chair at one of the large tables that had our PLC reserve sign on it. We had several. And I walked over to the hot water station. My intention was to do my morning journaling while sipping a cup of tea and waiting for the rest of my group to arrive. Before I could take my tea back to the table, a young man who had been setting up silver and linen on the other reserved tables throughout the room arrived at the table where I'd left my bag. He just stood there, glaring slightly. Rather defiantly, it seemed to me, he said, "I have to set up this table." When I didn't instantly respond, he repeated in a louder voice, "I have to set up this table." I smiled and said, "Oh, it's okay, I belong to that group." No return smile. An expressionless voice, "I have to set up this table." Obviously, I was being evicted. I looked at him more closely. He radiated unpleasantness. There was a kind of surly defiance in the tilt of his head and the rigid way he held his body. I walked over, picked up my note bag, and smiled at him. I said, "I'm sorry I'm in your way. Thank you for setting up the table. It's where I'll be sitting for breakfast." And then I chose another table, one without a reserve sign, and I opened my journal and began writing. This is a quote from that journal page. "Retreat, a strange name for a time of moving toward. But can we really move toward enlightenment? Or does it instead sneak up and silently embrace us? Enlightenment is a very inadequate word for my now awareness of God, but it is, of course, God, as I understand God, doing the embracing. The quote continued, "I feel you, dear one, so strongly sometimes, so intimate, like a lover, so warm and soft, like the closest and dearest friend. Like when you sang to me this morning with your clear, sweet, beautiful bird voice. Like when you smiled on me with your peaceful, shining sun face. That young man over there setting tables is you also, reminding me to know, to be abundant love so that he can share it, so that he too will feel your warm smile and not miss your melodic voice. At that point, I stopped journaling and looked up. The young man was looking at me, almost as if he just realized I was in the room. He walked toward me, and I wondered if I was going to be evicted once again. When he reached my table, he extended his hand with a large white napkin, and he said, "Would you like this?" with a grin as big as a watermelon. I accepted his gift and smiled back, thanking him, and once again bent my head over my journal. I wrote, "Thank you for reminding me that I don't have to necessarily do anything. I must only remember that while I am practicing your presence, you are practicing mine." Thank you.